Hey everyone, welcome back to Rise and Thrive Conversations for Greatness. I'm your host, John Merkus, and you have just landed on part 2 of my incredible conversation with Dr. Julia Ashton-Sayers. Now, if you missed part 1, that's episode 63, we delved into the power of psychological safety, the importance of vulnerability in leadership, and how a growth mindset can transform not only your professional life, your personal journey too. In this episode, part 2, episode 64 of our conversation with Dr. Julia Ashton-Sayers, we continue to explore her expertise in leadership, the fascinating world of positive psychology, and the lessons from the great philosophers. Dr. Julia shares valuable tools to help us to thrive in both our career and also in our personal growth. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. If you're not, you can, but you might just like to have me audio in your ears as well. We've got some great guests coming up, and I'm going to do some solo episodes as well to share with you what's been happening in my personal journey. And my intention is that will inspire you and your personal journey. Remember, the Meditation Mindset app is available. It's still in soft launch stage. When I do a hard launch and a marketing campaign for it, the price is going to go up. And I've been told to put it up tenfold. So right now you can get it at only $4 a month. It's exclusively my voice guiding you through meditations for a millionaire mindset, an optimistic mindset. I've got one in there to help you sleep. And also there's one where for 15 minutes I just tell you how great you are. So remember how important it is to feed your mind and your subconscious mind, and feed yourself with and surround yourself with positive influences, because that has been scientifically proven that helps people achieve their dreams and goals. So that's available. Just go to johnmerkus.com, probably best on your phone, because then you can just download the app straight away on your phone. It's a 7-day free trial. So if you get the app, use it for 7 days, and you don't want to use it anymore, you don't need to. So there's no pressure there. You get 7 days to check it out, and then $4 for the month is an absolute bargain. I can't even get a cup of coffee for $4, and that's $4 Australian for our US friends. What is that for you? About $2. Yeah, $2, maybe $2.50. Anyway, whatever it is, it's definitely affordable, and it's going to be probably 10 times the price when I do the hard launch, so to speak. Okay, now on with the show. Here we go with Dr. Julia. I'll see you at the other end. With the philosophy stuff, when someone says they've read a bit of Jung and done some other things in philosophy, I've got to go a bit deeper into that, because I haven't studied philosophy, but I do love it. And every time I'm exposed to it, I learn something. I think it's just wonderful. And it always amazes me. In some ways, it shouldn't, in a way that, a lot of these writings written hundreds of years ago by human beings are so relevant today in our fast-paced technological world. So is there something from one of the greats that you've read that's really resonated with you that you think could help listeners? Because sometimes what I've found is something that might be almost second nature to you, because you've been in this world, is an absolute mind blower to someone that has not necessarily gone down the same path or is seeking that information early in their journeys. Is there anything from those greats that have really made a difference to you that you can share with our listeners?
That is such a fabulous question, and my brain is just lit up, right, with so many different responses. But I guess the most influential, other than Martin Seligman, is Carl Gustav Jung and his writings on archetypes. And I think that they're still relevant today. The archetype of the victim, the archetype of the emperor, the archetype of the mother, the archetype of the servant. Those archetypes come into play with all of us at different situations throughout our day. When you're on the phone, you're talking to your boss. Are you talking as an emperor? Or are you talking as a servant? Or are you talking as an empowered person? What archetype are you displaying? So Jung, I keep going to Jung for two reasons. One is dream interpretation. So he maintains we have three levels of dreams. One is processing, because obviously the brain doesn't shut down, fortunately for us. So processing dream. The other dream is about dreaming into the future. So quite often they can be prophetic. They can be about being a prophecy into the future, because our dreams sit in our subconscious. And when we go to sleep, we're not thinking about work, we're not thinking about children, we're not thinking about driving the car. We're at a very resting state. And quite often those dreams can be about prophecy, what's there in the subconscious that we haven't sort of clicked into as yet. And the other one is about fear dumping dreams. And I really like how he talks about dreams in terms of metaphors. So, for example, if you have a dream about, being caught in a dirty lake, water usually represents emotions. And so that can be about negative emotions that you're swimming through at this time. And what I have is I've got a gratitude journal that I write in every morning.
Great.
And I and I put my dream in there as well, to say, I'm grateful for the symbology of the dream, but what is it unpacking? So it's a bit of self-reflection as well. Plus also the gratitude is about positive psychology. You start with gratitude. What am I grateful for today? What happened today? What I learned today? What can I take with me today? What did I encourage? I had a great conversation with John, my friend, and it was inspiring, and I felt uplifted for the rest of the day and floating through the air. Those sorts of things are very important to acknowledge that. We can't go through life just on autopilot. We have to be engaged with life. We have to bring it in, and we have to filter what's really good and what's not, and what are we grateful for, and what can we put over there in that compartment.
I'm so glad that you mentioned gratitude and that it is part of your everyday, because it's part of mine as well. And I think a lot of our Rise and Thrive listeners, and if it's not, try and bring that in. It's a message that we often deliver here on the show, because gratitude gives you access to greatness.
It does.
And rather than being a buoy in the ocean getting knocked around by the waves, you really take a step back and have a look and see what you can be grateful for. So I say gratitude gives you access to greatness. You might have a better way to put it, Dr. Julia, because of the studies that you've done and the things that you've done. So what kind of superpower, or how empowering, how would you describe the benefits of gratitude?
I think there's so many benefits of gratitude. I think I really started to learn the importance of gratitude from Martin Seligman. And he talks about that before you go to sleep at night. As I said, I've just pulled in, his theory there. Before you go to sleep at night, think of three things you're grateful for. And it could be just, I had a beautiful salad today with great, dressing, and it was so lovely. I was in the moment. I was eating it very carefully and slow, and I was tasting and smelling all the great essences in the salad.
Yeah.
Or I'm really grateful that I pushed past and found the grit within to turn up to work the next day after a shocking day yesterday. So just acknowledging that you are in the moment, number one, but you're grateful for what you have. And I think gratitude is the first step toward manifesting as well. And it helps you to sort things through. And I talk in terms of compartmentalization. And compartmentalization is a psychological concept that you just park things that you don't want to deal with at the time. You will come back to it, but it gives you an opportunity to have full focus on what really matters, what you can control in the moment. So I think having gratitude for that ability to be able to compartmentalize, live your truth, and be your best warrior in your life.
Nice. Be your best warrior. Good. Love that turn of phrase. Gratitude can be a spiritual principle, but it also sounds like a leadership principle as well. I love the crossover between those two areas. Now, in your experience, what has your spiritual journey provided to your work life?
Wow, that's a huge question.
It is huge. Sorry. And you can give us a taste or a whatnot, or however you feel like answering that, because I ask it, and I'll talk a bit to give you a bit of time if you like, but I
Mm,
ask it because when I've started on my spiritual journey, I love the crossover between the personal and the business side of things. I often try and bring some of those spiritual principles into my work without labeling them as such, because we're human beings in a work environment, and that's why I like to bring it in, and it really makes my day when I do, and I think it makes a difference to other people. In fact, other people have told me that it does. They haven't said, "Hey, John, when you brought that spiritual principle about gratitude and living in the present moment, that really," no, they don't say that, but they might say something like, "The way that you conducted that meeting and what you asked us to do in the beginning of that meeting really made a difference, and I really enjoy that style of session." That's how sometimes I've been able to bring it in. And so I was wondering, because I do know that that is a part of your life, and I know
mhm,
work is a massive part of your life as well, and you've
mm.
spent so much time gathering that awareness, gathering that learning, having all those experiences. I just had to ask you that.
Okay. All right. So we are aligned on a lot of that. We are aligned on a lot of that. And what I'd like to say is that from a very early age, I realized that we are human beings having a spiritual experience in an earth school. So being here at work or home or relationships is like a school. Our curriculum is part of who we are and what we're going to achieve in this world. So I am very mindful about the difference between spirituality and religion.
Yep.
And so I come from a spiritual quest. I am on a spiritual quest in this earth school. And that's how I choose to live my life, whether that's in my relationships or whether that's at work and what I do. And I think there's some fundamental principles around that. And so one of them is about treat people how you want to be treated. Turn up with a positive attitude and ask about that person. Have empathy for that person. You know, we're not going through anybody else's journey at the moment. Different people are experiencing different things at different times. My husband likes to criticize people when they're driving on the road if they're not driving to his standard.
I can relate to that a little bit. Got to pull myself up though, but yeah, please go on. Yeah.
And, and and I just turn to him and say, hey, they're driving to their capability. Or the other one, the other go-to is that cops the eye roll, is you don't know what that person's going through today.
That's
They
true.
could
Yeah.
be distracted, you know, they
Yeah.
could be stressed.
Yeah.
Their partner could be in hospital. You
Yeah.
don't know what they're experiencing right now.
That's
So,
exactly true, and I've when I've had to pull myself up on it, I've thought there's been occasions where I've had things in the car where I haven't wanted a lot of bumping and jiggling, and I've had to slow down a little bit, thinking anyone behind me is going to go, "Well, what the hell is this guy doing?" So, yeah, so I've got that trying to put myself in their shoes too, going, "Well, maybe this could be as simple as they've got stuff in the car they have to be mindful of the bumps and whatever." But yours is the way you put it too is a bit deeper, and I like that as well. In that you just don't know what they are going through right now,
mm,
and they are doing the best that they can. That's a positive, optimistic way to look at a situation. That's a
mm,
lot more empowering.
mm. And it doesn't, it prevents you from buying into the annoyance
Mm,
or the anger
mm,
because you're not in control of that person driving. You're
yeah,
only in control of what you're doing in your car.
gets back
And
to that
so,
control the controllables. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. Focus on what you can control.
yeah,
So I think it's really important from a spiritual point of view to really know that as human beings, some of us, and I'm not saying this from an arrogant point of view or anything, John.
mm,
I'm just saying that some of us are more evolved than others,
yep,
and you know that's not a judgment. It's just what it is because some people really want to evolve. They really want to turn up and watch podcasts like this and be a part of Rise and Thrive. They really want to do better. They want to learn more. They want to grow. They want to evolve. And, back early in my career, I was a transformational counsellor. And, my motto to myself was evolve or die. If we do not evolve, then we choose to be our true selves. We stay in the same place with the same attitude, the same people around us, no positive influences. And then you're just sort of navigating through life on autopilot. You're not really achieving, you're not really stretching, you're not really making yourself vulnerable or putting yourself out there.
Yep. Yep. I don't think it's arrogant, because we're all on our own journeys. And with a lot of this information, you've got to seek out. So it doesn't just happen to you. So it's there for the seekers. And like you say, the people that want to evolve and grow. We use the word awareness, and I know in change management, but also in life, because the more awareness, or as you would say, evolve, but the more awareness that you have, both about the world around you and internally, it makes such a massive difference to the quality of your life and the life of others around you. Totally get what you're saying. And if there's someone listening out there today and they said, oh, I like what you guys are talking about, and that awareness and how to get that, and I'm up for growing and rising and thriving, what are a couple of steps that they could take today to start their journey in your opinion? What would you say to them?
Okay, that's a really great question. I love the question. I believe there's two things that people can consider as part of their growth. Number one is to have a growth mindset. Okay, to see things in a positive way and see things thinking above the line instead of below the line. And below the line is the negative mindset. Above the line is I can do it. The other thing that I would suggest is really focus on building your EQ. That's your emotional quotient. Now, Daniel Goleman talks about that, but it's such an important part of who we are and how we continue to thrive. So think about your self-awareness. Reflect on your day. Go through a reflection period at the end. What did I do was really good? What can I do better? And how can I improve the situation? Also, your relationship management. That's also part of your EQ, right? So you as an individual, you're responsible for your EQ. I believe that your IQ will get you the job, but the EQ will get you promoted. Okay. The other quotient that I would like to talk about, it's relatively new. It's agility quotient, AQ. And agility quotient gives you the opportunity to be more flexible and dynamic, agile in your thinking in your workplace, adapt to changes more quickly. If somebody, rings you during the day and, it's a horrible phone call, but you've got to step into a coaching conversation, you've got to be able to switch that off. You've got to be able to adapt, pivot, and be in the moment with that person. So EQ, AQ, and growth mindset. I think they're three different growth areas.
Great, really good places to start. So I want to talk a lot more about leadership, because we're the leaders in our own lives. For our listeners, and for me as well, and maybe to crystallize some of your own thinking, even though it's probably crystal clear. What's your best advice for leaders that are struggling between wanting to put in a great culture, the strategy they have to adhere to, their own personal thoughts and feelings, and you might have already touched on some of those things, because I know some of those things that we talked about would be relevant, but I just thought in terms of leadership, if there's leaders out there that are struggling with implementing what they want to implement to have the best workplace possible, what would you say to them?
I would say the best leadership choice is to be an authentic leader. I know that there's different workplaces where you have to have a more autocratic or transactional leader. I understand that. Sometimes emergency services really need that transactional leader. I found some fantastic transformational leaders, so those with the vision who are able to communicate that effectively and bring everyone along with the change. Those transformational leaders are great to a point. But I believe the best leadership approach by far, and it's not because I've written about it with my professor, But the best leadership trait, and this is what I encourage with all my leaders, to be that authentic leader. And what I mean by that is to lead through your own vulnerability. If you go back to psychological safety and what that means, you're not the leader that knows everything about everything. You're about leveraging the brilliance of the people that you work with, seeing people. And what I'd like to point out here, there was a Richard Branson quote that I sort of grabbed onto very early in my pursuit of leadership studies. And it was like, you hire the smartest people and listen to them. And a lot of leaders or leaders at the sort of C-suite think that they are the best leaders because of their position. It's not true. Quite often, your middle managers are your best leaders, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones who have the heartbeat of the people. They're the ones that have the authentic conversations. They're the ones who know what the people think. Quite often, that sort of information doesn't go up to your C-suite, right?
Yep.
So being an authentic leader is being open to say, hey, I'm receptive to hear what you've got to say. You're the most important person in this conversation. And I want to support you. I want to guide you. And you do that through radical transparency, having those authentic conversations, building rapport with someone, establish relatedness. Who are you? How are you? What's going on with you? Where are you at? How are you feeling? All of those questions are so important. But not just ask the questions, being around to hear the answer.
Yeah. I love what you're saying about authentic leadership. And I got asked by a leader once in the workplace, how are you feeling? And I'd never been asked before. And I thought that was such a powerful question. It's not how you're going or what did you do on the weekend or whatever, which is still nice that you're getting inquiries about yourself. But how are you feeling? It really opens up the door. And as you say, especially if it's done in an authentic way, to relating to another human being that you're working with.
Wonderful. You only had it once? You only had one person ask you how you're feeling?
Well, that I can remember now we're talking. Yeah.
That's woeful.
I have worked with some brilliant people that are totally authentic. That's for sure. That is for sure. The thing about what you're saying before, I wanted to touch on about also being an authentic leader. Sometimes you've got to say, I don't know. And those words, I feel, are really powerful because it opens up a big world of how are we going to know, or who can help, or let's have a conversation about things, or it opens up that creativity, because as soon as you say, I know, it almost closes the walls onto anything new. So the benefit, if people are out there thinking, oh, I don't know if I want people to know that I don't know something, there's heaps of benefits in saying I don't know. You've touched on them as well, Dr. Julia. Is there anything else you want to say about I don't know?
There's another frame I go to as well quite often, and it is, can you help me understand?
I love these tips. That's something great that we can take away straight away.
Yes.
Can you help me understand?
Can you help me understand? Because we don't all process things the same way. We've all got different ways that we take in information. If you look at the DIS methodology, if you look at all the different psychological tests that you can take, Myers-Briggs, we're all different. We're all wired differently. There's some that are wired very similar, and usually when that happens, there's a real connection there because I can see you, you can see me, we get each other, we're talking the same language. Whereas others, it's like, I hear the words, but I can't comprehend what you're saying. And when I'm coaching people on communication, they go, oh, I know how to talk. Well, we all know how to talk after 2 years old. But the most important part of communication is comprehension. And the only way we can have comprehension is with active listening. So some people listen so they've got a break in the conversation where they can say what they want to say. That's why they're listening. They're not listening to hear or understand. And so when a leader can do that, That's brilliant. You're hitting the brilliant mark. If you can listen to comprehend, if you can clarify, if you can paraphrase
Mm,
back to that person,
mm.
that is the greatest gift you can give another person. You're validating them in that conversation. I hear you, I understand, and I'm going to clarify back to make sure I've understood correctly.
You really feel like you have been heard when that clarification comes back and it's what you were trying to say. And grateful for the opportunity. If it's not what you were trying to say, you get the opportunity to then clarify so the meaning of the message can really get through. Because sometimes you say it happens with kids all the time when you tell them something, and then later down the track you find out they got no idea what you just said. It's like we spoke about that, but they hadn't interpreted it that way. So I know a technique with kids is when you ask them to do something, you say, "Now tell me back what you think I want you to do." It works with kids. I don't know if you'd want to use that in the workplace, but active listening, love it. Love it.
Mm.
Now, lots of things inspire us. It can be books, can be people, can be nature. Now, as I listen to the show, music's a big part of the inspiration here on Rise and Thrive Conversations for Greatness. So we've got the Merkus Motivation playlist on Spotify. And
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask you, what's your go-to song if you really want to pump yourself up?
I'll set the scene.
Good?
Hubby and I were driving down the freeway a couple of weeks ago, and Jimmy Barnes came on, Working Class Man. And that song brings back such great memories. I saw him and Cold Chisel at the Easter show 100 years ago, pouring rain, Jimmy's on stage, absolutely soaked. And this man mountain of a guy picked me up and put me on his shoulders. And it was like one of the most amazing moments of my life. So when that song comes on, I just go back to that. That's how powerful music is, taking you back to an emotional high.
Yeah.
And so I was screaming that going down the F4. So I really apologise to all the cars who were driving past going, who is that crazy woman over there? But yeah, that's probably one of my favourite songs.
Fantastic. That's one of the best explanations for a song for the Merkus Motivation that we've had on the show. And I love it how it's taken you back to that high and that joyous feeling that you were having. I'm a Jimmy Barnes fan. Say that 5 times fast. And so it's going to be my absolute pleasure to add him to the Merkus Motivation playlist. Jimmy Barnes, Working Class Man. And it's a great song of striving and thriving and doing what you need to do to get where you want to get. Love it. It's perfect.
And I like the fact that it's celebrating the blue singlets, that no matter what job you're doing, you're still important. You don't have to have a university degree. You don't have to have a C-suite role. It can be anybody out there just doing the best they can in this complicated land in Australia.
Yeah, that's part of
I'm
the
not going to
list,
say any more.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. We're coming towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about some amazing stuff already here. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something challenging. If you can distill a lot of the conversation that we've had today and leave our audience with one lasting message, what would that be?
I think one of the most important lessons I've learned in my life is to know that other people's opinions of you don't really matter.
Perfect. That's it. That's fantastic. That's I love that because, well, you can't control them for a start.
No.
And why would you let someone else drive your emotions and behaviors? That's how I've come to see it. And I'm not saying it's not a challenge to have that mindset, but I know it's a very empowering one.
Mm. It is empowering, and I think it's about realizing that you are the prize. You are the prize. You're the prize in your relationship. You're the gift to another person. You're a prize in your workplace. You're lucky to have me. You are the prize.
That is a perfect way to wrap this up in a bow. Dr. Julia, you're welcome on the show anytime. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was just fun and wonderful, inspiring. I do feel very elevated though, so I will be flying throughout the rest of my day without my broom.
And so you should. You're awesome. Stay awesome.
You stay awesome too, my friend. Thanks, John.
Wow. What an incredible conversation. Dr. Julia Ashton-Sayers has shared powerful insights on leadership, resilience, positive psychology, and the wisdom of the great philosophers. From understanding archetypes and dream interpretation to the profound impact of gratitude and authentic leadership, this episode has been packed with game-changing ideas to help you rise and thrive. If today's discussion sparks something in you, take a moment to reflect. What's one idea that you can apply in your life or your leadership starting now? And a huge thank you to Dr. Julia for her wisdom, energy, and her generosity in sharing her expertise. If you love this conversation, be sure to check out episode 63 if you haven't already. And don't forget to subscribe or follow, and then that way you'll never miss an episode, and it also helps us get the message out to more people. Remember, if you've been thinking about getting the Mindset Meditation Fluid Reality app exclusively with my voice and my voice only, do it now before I do the hard launch and the price increases. If you've been thinking about it, go to johnmerkus.com, grab the app, download the app straight away. You will absolutely love it. That's my guarantee. 7 days free and then $4 a month after that. All right, better go. See you later. I love you long time. Stay awesome.